there's two skills that you got to have and you got to develop. And if you're not, you're making a huge mistake right now. Number one, you got to be very comfortable working with AI, not using AI. AI is not a tool. AI learns. You work with AI. And the second thing you got to do is you got to focus on using and you got to learn to use automation tools, no code automation tools.
All right, our guest today is Mindvalley COO and CHRO, Alex Dogliotti. You're going to get some incredible insights as to what it's like to build a global organization. And Mindvalley, their app is actually pre-installed on every Apple phone sold globally now. And their Mindvalley app is also on airlines like Emirates. You're going to get some insights as to what it's like to lead an organization like Mindvalley as the COO, and also get some incredible insights and how they're leveraging AI and becoming a very AI-driven organization. And it is not ChatGPT. We'll see you on the inside. This will be an episode to share with your leadership team, with your management team, and you can watch all of our Second in Command podcast episodes on our Second in Command podcast YouTube channel. So Alex, welcome to the Second in Command podcast.
Thank you for having me. Love it. Love it. Love being here.
Well, the thank you is actually from me to you. Thank you to Mindvalley for having me out as a speaker and being on your platform and doing a quest. I've really enjoyed working with Mindvalley over the last bunch of years and getting to know your organization. So I'm really excited to get to know you. So how did you learn about Mindvalley? And maybe even before we go, because there's going to be some people that don't even know what Mindvalley is. Can you tell us what Mindvalley is, kind of what the genesis of the organization is, what you're becoming? Because it's much bigger than people perceive.
Yeah, sure. Look, the company is 20 years old. It's originally based in Malaysia. Now we are incorporated in different countries. Originally, Mindvalley, and it's always been like that for a number of years. It's always been known for being an educational platform, essentially for personal transformation. Now, though, we are entering the second phase of growth of the company, and we are gearing towards a complete transformation into an AI-driven data company. AI would play a bigger and bigger role in our lives, enabled us to make our vision come true much faster than we ever thought. Um, and now the idea is to embed AI in the lives of our customers for hyper personalized transformation. So essentially, imagine you wake up and you have an AI companion that reads your health data, your emotions, your goals, knows your goals, and designs every day just for you, for Cameron. And that day will never be like, anybody else's. And it guides you through that as a human being. It becomes the best friend. So that's the second phase of my value. That's what we are working on right now.
Wow. Okay. So Mindvalley, up until now, has also been a platform where I think originally it was really Vishen. Vishen was kind of the mind, the guru that people would learn from. And then he started bringing in all of these incredible thought leaders from around the world. Um, you got Reagan Hellier, and you've got Eric Edmeades, and you've got Marie Diamond, and like the names of the people that they've brought in as thought leaders and as speakers and on your platform doing quests is huge. Is the idea to bring the AI versions of those people to your clients, or to weave together the expertise of those people for your clients? Can you walk us through?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, right now, if you think of how people consume content, the vast majority is still a kind of short format, bite-sized content, format. That's how people consume content now in social media, right? Um, but we are very rapidly moving towards a direct access sort of model where you don't even have to go through a 3-week course on manifesting with Reagan, because you will have the digital version of Reagan answering your questions and talking. Well, when you talk about your problems, Reagan will be able to tell you how to practical exercises to solve them right there and on, right? And that's what we're working on right now. Vision obviously is being the visionary and not being scared of any experiment. He's like, I want to clone myself. And so he already jumped on it. And we have a number of other authors that lined up for to be next. And that's where we're going, direct access and having a conversations that make you grow in a way.
I want to speak to a couple things around AI, and I just want to kind of link on what you just mentioned about vision. Vision definitely is a forward-thinking, idea-generating entrepreneur, very classic entrepreneur. Um, but he has a lot of ideas. He also is proudly stated recently that he's kind of running the business or doing his role from WhatsApp. To me, that scares the shit out of me. How do you, as his COO, as his yin and yang, keep organized with what must feel like a flood of information? Can you walk us through the mind of working with an entrepreneur like that and how you kind of help organize that information?
It's very true. The WhatsApp plays a key role in our organization. And when I joined, I came from telco. Okay, I've been here 4 years. I came from telecommunication, which is the most traditional, industry that you can possibly think about. And I walk in and everything was WhatsApp. And but there's a reason. There are two main reasons that I think one wouldn't say, but it works. The first reason is we embraced remote work and asynchronous work very, very quickly during the pandemic, right? And people liked it. And before that, everybody was in our beautiful office in Malaysia. But then, because of the pandemic, everybody went home. Spread around the world, and so we needed a very fast, a quick way to communicate with each other and in our phones without the noise of a million groups and communications, blah blah blah. And then WhatsApp was there, and I think we adopted it that way. And now there is the great thing about WhatsApp is that you're always in the loop. You can create a group, blah blah blah, put people in. Everybody's always in the loop, but it does force you to change the way you work. And because you wake up, I mean, the anxiety was one of the major effects that people felt at the beginning, right? You wake up and there's 150 messages in there, different groups from different people, and then there we understood we gotta eat our own food here, and we gotta come up with strategies so that our mindset does not get overwhelmed with the constant flow of messages. And so everybody came up with different techniques. We always tell people, like, forget the noise, deactivate notifications, set times in which you go on WhatsApp and you check the messages, switch it off in the night, all of that. There are small strategies that help me a lot.
Yeah.
I get about 400 or 500 messages a day, right? Now, how do you organize the information? Information is paradoxically very well organized because we laser focus on different groups. There are different groups that don't chat. They have action driven content in there. It's like to tell somebody, do this, do that. I'm gonna take care of this. You're gonna take care of that. And so that flow is constant, day and night. You sleep, there's somebody else that works somewhere in the world. You wake up, that work gets done and goes on to you. And so the organization is not the problem. The problem has been more, how do you manage the overwhelming information that you get at all times?
Yeah, okay. So part of it was, I guess, working with the team and getting them to get comfortable with this and to calm them and give them a system to work the tool, which makes a lot of sense, right? A shovel doesn't dig a hole. So you got to teach people how to use the shovel. You're teaching them how to use the tool. How do you also work with the entrepreneur to say either no or not now to the ideas?
Look, I think Vision and I work really well because in a way, I'm the opposite of Vision. I am the risk averse person. I am the number driven person. I always tell my team, if it's not in Excel, it doesn't exist for me. I need that. I develop safety and security and confidence when I see it in the numbers. Vision is the opposite. Vision is a person that sees 20 years in the future and acts like if that future was already here right now. And so I see my job as the person who takes that vision and builds it and or builds a path to that, which needs to be fast, sustainable, and scalable. And we work really well for that because I don't say no. I say, let's do it this way, or let's do it that way. And so I help his vision come true in a way that builds my confidence that we can make it true by numbers and data and financials and all that. But what I think is impressed me the most with Vision at the beginning was the fact that it was his comfort zone is when you don't have the data. When you don't have the data, he creates the future to right. And so where there is no path, he creates the path, and that's where his comfort zone is, and it wouldn't be mine.
Well, and it's interesting. That's actually how Vishen and I originally met. Was he was enamored or loved the idea of my vivid vision concept, where you create the vision in the future and then you reverse engineer it and make it come true. And he wrote about that in his book, The Buddha and the Badass. And I think that is very much the way he operates. And my question was less about saying no to a very like he is a genius entrepreneur. Um, but every once in a while they need someone to say they're naked. You know, like the emperor's new suit. They need someone to be able to do it in a safe way. And it sounds like what you do is you try to take those ideas and figure out a way to make them happen. And it is more artful around saying perhaps not now. It's like we need a new feature on the iPhone. Well, we can't put all the features into version 12. We need to wait some version 13. Some will get there, but some will come later. Is that part
Yeah.
of how you manage some of this as well? Is there's a timeline around the ideas? Do you work well? Does the company work off those
Yeah.
project plans?
100%, 100%. Timelines and roadmaps is what, sets up the right OKRs per quarter is part of how we organize information, how we organize goals, right? So that's part of my role. Um, the I I guess the part that when I say that I don't say no, it's I say yes, but let's do it this way, and I do it personally, not judging the merit of things, but rather showing how we can do that with numbers and data. And with numbers and data, you can decide which path you can get to the same result, or which road are you gonna take. And I do it all the time by two things: the product roadmap, how fast you can do it. When you score how fast you can do it, what's the afterwards, what's the ROI of every single thing you do, and then the financials. Those two areas, the prod how quickly you can reach there product wise, and what the impact will be on the financials. By doing that, I understand.
Yeah, it makes sense. And do you visualize the organization by product or by business area? And what I mean by that is my understanding of Mindvalley is that you have the events that you run. You know, we have Mindvalley University coming up in August in Amsterdam that I'm excited to be at. An amazing event, by the way. Anyone listening and watching, I absolutely sign up to go to Mindvalley University. It will be game changing for you in your life and your relationships. Then you have your app where you have all these different thought leaders, and then you have other content. What are the different products and services that Mindvalley manages?
So we're doing so we do have both product, what we call business units, and divisions, right? And so we built essentially a matrix organization where we have managing directors for different business units. We have membership, which the app you mentioned. We have our B2B division now. We have our new line of supplements, which is called States, um, and uh, and and we have our premium programs, which we divide into the masteries programs and the certifications. So each of these are responsible for their own P&L, and then we have the service divisions that essentially allocate people to all of these business units. Marketing, human resources, finance, blah blah blah. Now we do that because we're bootstrapped, right? We never got so we are for us being profitable and having high EBITDA and being very lean and maximizing the revenue per employee is fundamental. So that's why we adopt this method.
Okay, you just said something that was really intriguing to me, and I hate the term double click, but we are going to double click on this one. The perception from the members at Mindvalley is that you're not very lean, that there's a lot of overhead, a lot of people, but it sounds like that's just because we're not aware of all of the, well, we're certainly not aware of the P&L, which is large. You're a big business. How many employees do you have globally right now? What's the
Right now, less than 300, 270, something like that.
and revenue? Can you speak to revenue or do you disclose that?
Let's say over 100 million.
Yeah, well, I think you're well over 100 million. Your app was just put on the Apple phones worldwide, which is it means you're not a tiny little startup company. Your um, Mind Valley is on a bunch of airplanes right now, and you're on planes. What airlines are you on where you can listen to Mind Valley content?
No, we were on Emirates, we're on Finnair, we were like a bunch. Yeah. There's a yeah.
The small little Emirates airline that like yes. So you're best of breed. You're a really good sized company. Vision said something at the Mind Valley Future Human event in Dubai that I was at back in January, which was interesting. That I think, if I understood him, he said the goal of Mind Valley is to continue to grow while not adding more people. And it was by leveraging AI to continue to grow versus adding bodies to continue to grow. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Oh, yes. True. I mean, consider this: in the last 4 years, we tripled our revenue, and we decreased our headcount already. So 4 years ago, we had 20% more people, and all that is, and now in this last few months, a year, let's say, um, AI really took a turn for the best. And initially, we encouraged our employees to use it and embrace it, at individual level. But now we realize that if you want to do the real jump with AI, you got to embrace it and integrate it at institutional level, like organizational level. And so it's not enough that Cameron uses ChatGPT, but it's about how do you design all your work and in a way that works with AI. And so we recently actually announced, that we're gonna spend a lot of money on AI training for all employees. And the idea is this: with agentic AI, each employee can literally have a team on their own that they can build around the work they do and making them 10 times more efficient and more productive. And so it's absolutely possible. I share this with Vision. It's entirely possible to have very few people running a massive company. And I'm quite convinced in the next 5 to 7 years, we're going to see a lot of companies that are going to be one, two people
Yeah,
and with significant revenue.
I think it's gonna be less than 5 to 7 years. I think you're gonna be more like 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 years. So the idea around I'm gonna have you speak to agentic AI in a second. I just heard of a concept the other day, which was really intriguing because I'm working with a company called Delphi, which is a sponsor of Mindbelly to work on my avatar. It's done. We're doing a next generation of it right now, where people globally can ask the video version of me questions and I can answer based on my 6 books, based on hundreds of my videos. All that content is inside of my avatar. But what this concept that I heard was quite interesting was we're going to get these AI tools or AI agents that are doing work for us, like a chat GPT right now that we currently are asking questions. It will become a named thing. We'll have an AI agent called Fred. We'll have an AI agent called Alex. And I'll be running a meeting with 3 or 4 of my AI agents as I'm running a meeting with people, and they'll all be talking to each other. That's what you're talking about, right? Like,
100%. But I've done it myself. I've already done it for myself. When I write my articles in on LinkedIn, or I created a team of people. I created a researcher, I created a writer, I created an ideal reader to check the ideas are right and interesting and valuable for my readers. And I created an editor to check the first version, and then I all of them work together, and then there's another writer that writes the last version before submitted to the critic. and it's 10 people, and then I have my marketing team. I have the social media team that, one that creates comes up with a post, the other one with the title, and they all talk to each other. They all feed into each other until they spit out the best version of the article they think they wrote. And then I give feedback and they restart. I'm not a technical person. This is the most incredible thing, you know. I it's in my mind. The other day I was addressing the whole company and I was telling them one thing. There's 2 skills that you gotta have and you gotta develop, and if you're not, you're making a huge mistake right now. Number 1, you gotta be very comfortable working with AI, not using AI. AI is not a tool. AI learns. You work with AI. It's you gotta consider a colleague that just started. So the more you work with the colleague, the better colleague gets, right? And the second thing you gotta do is you gotta focus on using and you gotta learn to use automation tools, no code automation tools. Like, I use make.com. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's not advertisement, but I'm not associated, but it's a great simple tool. And you put an AI team, team of AI agents and automation tools together, man, you don't need a you don't need a team. But if you have a team, what do? You teach them, and they have their own teams.
Yeah. So at
Is
the speaking event that I did at Mindvalley at Future Human, I said that AI is not going to replace people, but someone using AI is going to replace people. Again, it's not my quote. It's been said now by hundreds of people, I'm sure, over the last 2 years. That's kind of what you're talking about is people need to be very comfortable with working with AI as a colleague and then working with automations. I completely agree. And in that, there's also the natural fear that humans have, right? People wake up, they have insecurity. They're not the COO of a company. They're 3 layers below you. They're in a role. They don't have any access to the leadership team or the CEO. How do you calm them? How do you educate them? How do you show them that they're going to be okay so that when they show up day to day, they can be productive. They can learn this stuff versus spending half of their day worried.
let me just mention one thing first. The narrative, I think, is a little politically correct in a way because yeah, I heard that. I heard the same quote many times. But the bottom line is when you go out to your employees and you say you're gonna be okay, you don't know if they're gonna be okay, really. Because there's 2 sides here, right? There's my side and there's your side, and, your responsibility is to embrace these tools and these new technology immediately, like, go. My responsibility is to give you the best opportunity to do so. So what we did, no, obviously we're in the same situation. And by the way, you mentioned you're not our employees are not maybe the COO, but I'm in the same bunch, right? The knowledge industry is kind of over. You gotta question yourself and understand what's your value beyond what you know. Because give it 2 years, ChatGPT is gonna know more than you. And so what we did is we organized several different layers of AI training for our employees. We partnered up with LinkedIn Learning, who built a great curriculum for us for all the AI courses. Obviously, all our employees have access to our AI mastery, which is really practical, really, really high level, really great quality. And then on top of that, we also engaged one AI author, and twice a month he does live calls, ongoing live calls with all our employees to bring them up to speed with new stuff that is coming out, how to use certain tools, and so on.
I'm doing exactly the same. For our COO Alliance members, we normally do 2-hour calls every month, and then we have 2 in-person events every year for all the COOs who are members. We now have a monthly AI expert call, and we have a every single month. We started that in January. We've done a couple of them over the last years, but now we're doing it every month. I think that's very smart. Mindvalley was one of the first companies that really kind of embraced culture. I think you really understood culture and culture so much that I've always said that to build an amazing company, it has to be a little bit more than a business, a little bit less than a religion. It has to be in that zone of a cult. And Mindvalley is absolutely a good cult, right? And as was the company that I was known for building, 1-800 Got Junk. We were for sure that culty organization. Can you speak to what happens when you build that strong culture? What kind of, how that impacts employees, how it impacts work results, and what would the two or three things be that you think Mindvalley does well that leads to that really strong company culture? And one that I've identified and seen over the years is you just have an unbelievable ability to attract and retain fantastic human beings, like really, really great people.
I think the the culture, there's a I like to think that there was a it's not that I like or not. I think that there was pre-COVID culture and a post-COVID culture. Because the pre-COVID culture was built physically in the same location, right? In the same office, people seeing it, seeing each other every day. And that I wasn't part of that, but that was beautiful. When I see like videos and pictures and stuff, it was incredible. It was harder post-COVID because we became fully remote. And therefore you didn't have you no longer had the team building everyday sort of interaction, right? And but at the same time, people the type of people changed. We had some turnover and so on, and we paid attention to the one thing, which is get people who believe in your mission. When you do that, whether you're remote, not remote, blah blah blah, you have different, of course, you have different challenges. But when you have people believing in the mission, you will always have driven people, laser focused people. And I swear, you will not have to issue a single instruction. Instead, you just tell them. There's a quote that I like a lot, and I always say, and it's this: if you want your team to build the ship, don't teach them how to build the ship. Teach them to love the open sea. And and it's very true. It's something that I found true my whole life. Talk about the mission. Talk about the mission. AI right now is a mission. It's part of our mission. And our people are jumping on it.
Wow.
They are coming up with all sort of things that you wouldn't believe. We built an entire AI driven internal system as a passion project starting from two people. It's incredible. They connected that AI system, which is similar to ChatGPT, to all our internal knowledge base. So anything you ask, it knows everything you wrote, Cameron. It knows everything Reagan wrote, And you can ask AI, hey, I need to find the lesson in which, I don't know, Marissa Peer talking about this. They know. And then analyze it, compare it. It's as a passion project. Nobody told them to do it,
Right.
right?
Probably made their work easier. It's probably something they were having to do all the time. So then they just write an agent to do that. It's great.
100%. But you see how this changes one thing. It changes the way you work because it becomes boundaryless. Suddenly, these two guys a person is in IT, the other one is a head of engineering. But the point is that they are now going into the content side. They're going into copywriting and they're going into and and that's why I'm saying the knowledge industry is dead because if you know how to work with AI, the knowledge is provided by AI. You need to provide the problem. So you shift from problem solving, which is what you do today. When I talk to you about a problem, your brain goes into how do I solve it? But your brain should go into, okay, this is a problem. How do I break it down in such a way that when I explain that to AI will give me the best result and much better result that I could possibly have. And that is goes the mindset goes from problem solving to problem framing. That is changing the way in which we work because we are not about the output anymore. We are more about the input.
Right. Yeah. And I guess that was kind of what was being called prompt engineering for a while, but that makes sense. So you called it problem, what was this?
Framing.
Problem framing, like framing the problem to AI so AI can figure it out. Makes sense. That's kind of the,
Yeah.
yeah. I love this. All right. You joined Mindvalley when it was already a 16-year-old organization, and it was in a lot of change where I think it was bringing in the current senior leadership team. A lot of you all came in around the same year. Can you speak to what that was like with that kind of change when a lot of senior people came in, and how did you navigate that change coming in? And did you come in as COO? Was that your initial entry role?
I joined as a CHRO, and then I moved into a COO role about a year and a half later. So I was the first external exec, let's say, to join the company. Part of my role was to hire all the other execs, which I did. Now, at the time, we were flirting with one investor that said, look, I think if you want to do the big jump, you need to get a solid executive team, and that's where Vishen and I met, and then ultimately I joined the company. And one of the first thing I wanted to do was to build the executive team, as I said. Look, I think it wasn't, to be honest, it wasn't particularly hard. We had a couple of mishires, but it was more about, it wasn't that they were bad. It was probably the company we made a couple of mistakes thinking hire from big companies because they know. And, I'm sure you know, and you heard many stories about it. But, when you hire maybe let's hire from Amazon, because Amazon, in reality, Amazon is super well structured with there's so much foundation there that it's really hard to go wrong. While we needed to hire doers and builders. So it wasn't a particularly difficult thing. You hire builders, so you test for building skills. Builder skills means you get people who are very good at managing people, and but at the same time, they show, they don't tell. Show don't tell has always been, if you when you look at a new exec, if they're doing some of the work themselves and show their team, it's always a good indicator.
How long did you wait coming into the organization before you started making some big decisions? Like, did you give yourself some time to understand the lay of the land and the people and the business before, or did you come in guns a-blazing?
No, I tend to be very respectful of the work that's been done before. Also, because if you don't understand, the context drives decision making, right? So if you don't understand why things are in a certain way, you may make the wrong decision just because you think it's right. But um, I want to say I cleaned up a couple of situations quickly in the first 3 months, but it was something that was typically HR, was governance and compliance on certain things, uh, driven by COVID. So that was a big thing because it created a little bit of a shake in the company, because it was the very first time that somebody was actually looking constantly at the governance and compliance.
Mm.
Um, but then I integrated myself gradually. It's just my personality, and but I do think it's the I I I heard you talking about the COO as the last role to hire. I think you gave a whole, in one of your talks when you were saying if you need a functional head, hire functional head, don't hire COO. If you need a COO, hire fractional COO before you hire COO. I do think that COO's main job is to fill the empty spaces and being the glue that keeps the other pieces together, right?
Yeah.
And to be the glue, you need to fit well within the rest. You can't go too strong, 'cause otherwise the glue becomes the piece, becomes the main material, it's not supposed to be that way, in my opinion. Um, so a lot of the other exec call me the politician, and I think I am. Um,
Have to be.
you know, yeah, I think that's my number one skill is the negotiation, finding common ground, even with conflicting agendas. Find common ground, take a step back. Do we agree to go that direction? What are we going to do together? So yeah, I didn't go guns a blazing at all. Slowly build step by step.
Can you speak to then kind of what your role is day to day? What do you stay focused on day to day inside of Mind Valley? And how do you, part two would be, how do you kind of orbit that giant hairball? How do you not get so into the weeds when you could be in so many meetings and in so many spreadsheets and yeah. So can you speak to both of those?
Well, yeah, I am in all of those. Too many meetings, too many spreadsheets for sure. I try. Look, right now I am directly under me. I have still HR, I have operations, I have events, and I have customer service. And so those areas are directly under me. On top of it, I function as the glue for the rest of the executive team. How do you stay focused? I think at different points in time, you need to have a North Star. And right now, for us, the North Star is the AI transformation of the company, creating that AI-driven ecosystem that I mentioned before. So it's all about um, getting the product right, so supporting product and engineering to achieve that, and and making sure that we do it profitably, and so supporting our CFO in achieving that. So that's what I do. That's my North Star right now. Everything else will be important, and you will feel guilty when you don't do it, but you got to choose your pain. And a lot of it is noise, right? Everything I always remind myself, everything that is not related to the AI transformation and the financials is noise.
Okay. I love that. Everything that's not related to AI and the financials is noise. So staying hyper focused. Um, your growth. I mean, as a leader, you can't just show up and rely on the fact that you've been doing this for years and all your past experience. And obviously, you're continuing to learn on the AI side of things. What's a second area that you're focusing on getting better at as a leader, as a COO?
I think it's gonna sound fluffy, but it's true. Um, I focus a lot on making others successful, and I think this is also it's also my approach at work. It's always been, but especially in the position where I am today, is I always ask myself, how do I make you successful? How do I make you, chief product officer successful? How do I make you, Marisha CMO? How do I make you successful? And by doing that, it's always about giving rather than taking. And I always give, and sometimes, and so I focus on that in my growth. I'm focused on making somebody successful, because it never happened to me that I made somebody else successful and they didn't pay back.
Totally.
And that, I think it's time well spent. It's worth it. And probably the growth is really in keeping my focus on it. You know, it's easy to get distracted.
It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to forget. Yeah, I've always believed that a leader's core job is to grow people, and it's about growing their skills, their confidence, and their connections. The more that we can grow them, the more that we can get results through them. And then, yeah, it just feels good. It's even why I called my online training that I launched 3 years ago, Invest in Your Leaders, is it's about investing in their skill sets so that they then, can go off and,
Yeah.
and do more and feel better. All right, wrapping question. If you were to go back and give the 21-year-old Alex some advice, what advice would you give the younger you that you know to be true today?
Oof, $1 million question. I would say trust yourself now. You have the "I'm not good enough." A lot of people have this thing. I do. I have the "I'm not good enough" kind of story. Imposter syndrome almost in my head. When I was younger, more than now, because I had less concrete elements to say no, it's not true. But I would say that to my younger self, trust yourself more, go there, do it. And yeah, that's it. Now, at the same time, your syndrome is also the one thing that probably made me successful, because I had to prove to myself that I could do it. And so every time, I always tell my guys, I always say, I built an entire career just by saying yes to opportunities. Because they always ask me like, "What was your goal? What was your objective?" Like I had none, no goals, no objective, zero. You know, zero. But every time somebody said to me, "Hey, why don't you try?" or "Do you want to do?" Yes, yes, yes. That's it, and that's how it is. Say yes. Like, you know what? I want to change my answer.
No, no,
My younger self, just say yes.
I love it. Alex Dogliotti, the COO for Mindvalley. Thanks so much for sharing with us on the Second in Command podcast. Really appreciate all the time and the insights today.
Thank you so much, Cameron, for having me. I hope it was good. And I'll meet you. I'll meet you in Dubai.
Oh,
I'm in the pro. Yeah, remember you told me about your golden visa. I'm in the same process.
oh, nice. Yeah, my golden visa got
Yeah,
completed right the same couple of days that I was at Future Human, the Mindvalley.
I remember. I remember.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate it. We'll see you, and we'll start in Amsterdam at Mindvalley University too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night.
Bye bye.